It's Palm Sunday. Hosanna. Hosanna in the highest. Have you ever thought about the meaning behind that? Jesus riding into Jerusalem on the back of a donkey, and all of these people laying down palm branches, laying their coats down in front of him, proclaiming Hosanna. There's so much wrapped up in this little statement. Statements of history, looking back to the Exodus when Moses led the people out of Egypt into the desert, wondering what was next, but out of slavery and into freedom, even though they weren't quite prepared for what was going to come. And then, just a few hundred years before Jesus, the Maccabean revolt, where they overthrew Rome, slaughtered people, and retook Jerusalem, which led to the rebuilding of the temple. All of this is wrapped up in Jesus entering into Jerusalem that day, looking for something. And yet the people are calling out to him, not just moments of praise, but save us. Save us, Lord. Save us from what's going on. I think for me, maybe for you today, as we come into Palm Sunday and into Easter, it's a moment to stop and reflect. What is it that we expect out of God? Those people that day were hoping that Jesus was going to come and bring about a new revolt. They were under oppression. They had taxation that was way over and above. They had Roman legions that were occupying their land. And here, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Israel, was riding in, and they were recognizing that. They'd seen Lazarus raised from the dead. They saw the miracles, and they believed that Jesus was the king of Israel. But how that worked out for them was different than what they expected. See, Jesus didn't come in riding in on a war horse. He came in riding on a donkey, which is a declaration of peace, not of war. Jesus didn't come to fulfill their expectations, but actually just as one of them. Just another Israelite coming into Jerusalem, knowing what was going to happen. And there's something in that causes us to have to pause and reflect on what that means for us. Because even today, we still hold expectations of God that aren't real. That God should do things for us, that our role in this is passive, when in reality, we have to pick up our cross and follow after him. And so it's an invitation today to just stop and reflect on all of the things that we have put on God and that we expect him to be for us. My life is full of those moments where I expected God to magically solve my problems, to magically wipe out my enemies, where everything is going to be good. And those lead to some really dark nights of the soul where I'm discovering God is not who I want him to be. He is exactly who he is. And he's faithful, and he's just, and he's right, and he's true. But he's not what I expect. I've had to learn to just stop and take Jesus as he is. And I don't think God hides that from us. Jesus wasn't hiding that day as he rode into Jerusalem. In fact, he was quite clear. He'd been clear to his disciples and to others that entire time. Go, get the donkey. I'm going to ride in. I'm going in to die. And they didn't believe him. They didn't see it. They saw what they wanted to see. And I'm still guilty of that today. I see things in God that I want to see, not who he actually is. And so as we come into this Easter season, maybe it's time to just stop, reflect, and say, Lord, who is it that you are? Where are the places that my expectations don't line up with who you actually are? And then we're invited into that space to just sit and be with him, to learn from him, to learn who he is, and to be in that space with him. There's some real beauty in that, because then all of a sudden it's not what I want. It's not about getting the kind of genie out of God, but it becomes about being present with him and discovering a relationship And the hard work begins about discovering what our cross is, discovering what we need to lay down, and who he really is. There's deep beauty in that. Too often, this time is used to lay burdens on people or to prop up a Messiah, as opposed to inviting us into a relationship to stop and listen and be present with him. That is what this time is really about. For our community, as we practice that here, it's going to mean a dinner in the next week to just stop and be together, to reflect on all that God has done in the Exodus, through Jesus, what he's doing today, to speak gospel into one another's lives about who God is, about all of the lies that we believe, have believed, are believing, will believe, and instead come back to that place of trust in him. My hope for you is that you have a community like that, to speak that into your life in this season, and that this next week, as we celebrate Palm Sunday, Good Friday, Easter Sunday morning, you will discover a time and a God who loves you just as he is. But often that means he's going to be subverting some of those basic pieces that you would have never expected. May the Lord bless you this week. May you meet with him. May he blow away all of your expectations and at the same time reveal that he's so much more than you could have ever imagined. All of those people were expecting Jesus to come in to overthrow a Roman Empire. Jesus rode in to overthrow an entire spiritual empire, to really bring about a kingdom that's present today where the slaves are free, where there's freedom for everyone who call upon his name. That's the message of Palm Sunday. The Lord bless you as you pursue him in that. See ya.